Okay. Hi, Papa Tom again. This time we're presenting a series of 10 5-minute presentations. They're not 5 minutes, a half hour. So you can listen to them in your car or while going to work or coming home from work or sitting at home with nothing to do and the wife's busy, or you have no wife and you want to be educated. Okay, it goes without saying that you never stop learning. If you want to become wealthy, you got to learn what you're involved in. You got to learn the field you're involved in, and you have to work at it. You have to work, work, work. Now, it doesn't have to be a big strain on the brain. All it takes is consistency and follow through. There are many, many, many publications that you can read that are about business. I'm talking about business, yes. For instance, if you go on Hulu and search for publications, let's say magazines, for instance, there's Inc., Kiplinger's Money Moves, there's The Motley Fool, there's Kiplinger's, big name in finance, there's Bloomberg, big name in finance, Bloomberg Business Week, there's Entrepreneur, that's you. These are names of magazines, and they're all financial magazines, and there's hundreds of them out there. Whenever you go to an airport and you look at the magazines that are available for you to buy to read while you're flying, there's hundreds of them. They're all different. You're only interested in certain articles because there's no way you can read all of them. It just isn't. So you're at the mercy of the editor of the magazine, the reporters for the magazine. They write articles that they're interested in, that they think you would be interested in, and they give a headline to get your attention. So what you do is you look at the headlines, and if one of them grabs you, then you read that article, and you've educated yourself. And if you do this every day with some magazine, you don't have to subscribe to it. Don't spend money. Put that money in your Feel Good account. You remember your Feel Good account. That's where every week you put a set amount of money into a savings account, and you do it because it makes you feel good. Yes. I know at first it's only $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 or $100, which doesn't seem like much. But if you do it every week, after a month or two goes by, you've got a considerable amount of money starting to accumulate there. This is the money you're going to invest. You're going to invest it with the knowledge you gain from reading these articles. There's also newspapers, the Financial Times, your local newspaper, and also Investor's Business Daily, which I happen to read. It comes out once a week. Now, in every newspaper, they have articles that this is what you need to do if you want to be rich. One article. Well, Investor's Business Daily has what they call Secrets of Success. And they publish in every time they publish, they list these secrets of success because they feel they're the basic reasons for success, for you building your success. And that is what I'm going to feature this series on. They start with how you think is everything, deciding upon your true dreams and goals. Take action. Never stop learning. That's what we're going to cover today. Be persistent and work hard. Learn to analyze details. Focus your time and your money. That goes back to your drip account. You're focused on that. You're building your money, how much money you're going to invest. And we'll talk about that when we talk about focus your time and money. Don't be afraid to innovate or be different. Remember, there's millions of people out there who have the same idea, and they're watching this program. So you, I'm talking to you now. You don't be afraid to innovate and don't be afraid to be different when it comes to investing your money. Deal and communicate with people effectively. That's a very, very important one. And I will cover that in one of my most seminars. Be honest and dependable and take responsibility. That is probably that is true of life in general. Be honest with people. Be dependable. When you say you're going to do something, do it. And when you do something wrong, take responsibility for it. Yes, I screwed up. And here's what went wrong. Here's what I intended to do. Here's how I intended the outcome to come. And it didn't. It came out to the contrary. I take responsibility. Now, I can tell you from personal life, I had a job. I was at it 3.5 years. I did a pretty good job at it. I got promoted. I walked into, it was managing a cable television station. I managed it from scratch. I set up the equipment. I started to get volunteers to do different positions. Eventually, we grew to where we had employees that we actually hired and paid. We had an artist to do the artwork. We had a technician to maintain our technical equipment. And I was the manager of the station. We had 48 hours a week of programming. Well, I was sitting at my desk one day. I was figuring out payroll, and my boss walks in, a vice president of the company that owned our station. And he says, by the way, I noticed that our art director, you're only okaying 20 hours a week for her. Well, she works 40 hours a week. I said, well, she only shows up at the studio 20 hours a week. She's here in the morning, and then at noon she disappears. I never see her again, and when we need her, she's not available. He says, well, that's when she's working with me, and that she should be paid for that. So go ahead and sign her up for 40 hours. Now, I don't know what possessed me. I had been with the company 3.5 years. I had done a good job. He was a good boss. But I said, you're effing her. I'm not. You signed for her 20 hours a week. And naturally, he threw into a rage and said, you're fired. Well, I was just being honest. And I got fired. Well, I walked out of there. Was that the right thing to do? I was honest. Well, let me tell you the follow-up to that. 3 months later, the FCC changed the rules. That's your federal government agency in charge of stations, broadcasting. And they were in charge of cable channels. Well, they decided that companies such as the one I work for no longer had to originate programming. So they closed down the studio. I would have lost my job anyway. 3 months later, and everyone who was happy to see me leave because, boy, they had the same mindset as my boss did, that you could have hanky-panky between employees and no problem, Tom would cover for you. No, Tom would not. Tom was honest. And if you didn't work, you didn't get paid, period. So be honest and be dependable. When you say you're going to be there, even if it's at some cost of another obligation you had. You said you'd be there. Be dependable. Be there. Okay, so we covered the 10. We will cover one in each of our sessions. Today we're going to talk about never stop learning. I've already talked about magazines and in newspapers, in effect. Those are things you can read. It doesn't matter if the story's current, a day or two old, or just the ink's still wet on the publication. You don't have to pay for it. You know, there's a thing called a public library. You walk in there and they have magazines and newspapers, current, delivered that day, that you can sit down, read all the headlines, the one that grabs you, read the article, and then thank them very much and leave. Didn't cost you a dime. What do you do with the money you would have paid for a magazine or a newspaper for that day? You put it in your feel-good account. What is the feel-good account? That's where you are accumulating dollars. And what are dollars? Dollars are things, people, not people, things that work for you. You're the boss over them. You tell that dollar, you want to be invested in General Motors. You want to be invested in Costco. You want to be invested in whatever you pick to be invested in. And you take that dollar and it listens to you and it goes and buys stock in that company. That dollar is working for you. You're in charge of it. And it comes from your feel-good account where you're accumulating dollars every week until you have enough to go with those dollars where you want to go. So let us proceed from there. Okay, there are many magazines and many newspapers and also many books written where you can get knowledge from books. Now, most people who wrote a book write it about something that they thought of that was new in the marketplace. I'll take an example. Flipping homes. There were people doing it, but they never wrote a book. They never made a big deal out of it. They only did it occasionally, made a few dollars and went on. But there was someone who said, aha, this is a gold mine. I'm going to flip homes and I make money on each home. I'll flip 2 or 3 at a time. And I'll take the money I accumulated and buy more and flip them. And you know what flipping a home is? It's as simple as buying a rundown home at a low price, going in, using sweat equity. You paint it, you clean it out, you wash the windows, you clear the yard of debris and mow the lawn, and then put it up at a higher price. And the difference in price is yours. That's called flipping a home. You take a home that it looks like it's worn, it's been abused, it's selling for less. You buy it, you fix it up, and you sell it for more. You flipped it, okay? Now, that person gets to a point where there's too much competition. They can't find homes to flip. So what do? They give a seminar on flipping homes. Yes, they talk about how successful they were, not are, were. And if you go to those seminars, you'll see hundreds of people there, if not thousands. At each seminar, maybe they'll have 2 a day, and they have 300 people at each seminar. But tell me, there are not 300 homes out there or 600 homes every day that can be flipped. But they're telling you what they did in the past, and you can do it. Yes, you can. Well, you go to the seminar, you listen to it, you gain knowledge on how you find a home, how you flip it. In any business interest, there is a gamble. That's why you have a feel-good account and you never use all of the feel-good money to go into an investment. I had a friend who flipped homes. Now, what they would do was go down to the courthouse steps where a man walks out the door and he says, okay, this bank has these homes that it has foreclosed on. Well, he knew ahead of time what homes they were foreclosing on. So he would go and know what he was bidding on, but you had to pay cash. So they literally had a satchel full of cash. All these people were standing around with satchels full of cash, waiting to buy the home when it was announced that the bank was putting it up. Pardon my glasses, they keep slipping down my nose. Well, fortunately for him on this day, this particular investor had someone who was at the house looking at it. Well, he was down at the courthouse waiting for the bank to walk out and say, I'll buy that home. I got the cash. The guy called him on his cell phone. He says, don't buy the home. Don't buy the home. Have you bought it yet? No, I haven't. They're going to come out in any minute. In fact, I think the bank's next. Don't buy the home. Don't buy, but it's a good deal. Don't buy the home. Why shouldn't I buy it? It's on fire. Oh my God, thank God he had a friend that was out at the very house he was thinking of buying and looking at it and discovered the house is burning up. Because once he gave that cash to the bank, he owned the home. Obviously, he had no insurance on it. It's on fire. Good luck making a profit on that investment. You see, there's a risk, is my point of that story. And it's a true story. But there's a risk involved in everything. So you never want to gamble all your money. If you want to just quickly double your money and have very little risk, go to Las Vegas. They have a thing they call the roulette wheel. They offer black and red, only two colors. You put all your money on one of the colors, and if it comes up on the wheel, it's got to come up black or red. Can't come up a third color. They have one spot that's green, but the odds of that coming up are remote. So you double your money. Well, if you want to take that gamble, take your money, put it on black or red, and have them spin the wheel. If it doubles, it's yours. If it doesn't, you lost it. Very easy, very quick, very simple way of taking big risk and losing your money or making your money. Most people get excited if they doubled it and they say, boy, I can do that again. Look how easy it is. Okay, and they pick a color, and eventually that color doesn't come up, and eventually they lose it all. So take your choice. You got it. So you want to go to a seminar, you learn how to do something. Now, should the opportunity arise where you see a home, you are lucky. One day you walk into a home and you say, you know what? This home isn't going to sell. It smells. They had animals in here. Oh, it's terrible. Well, you can buy it at a good price and get rid of the odor and sell it at a higher price. Now you can flip a home. Well, good. You have the knowledge from the seminar and you flip one home and you made some money and you put it in your feel-good account and let it grow. Let it keep growing. That's where seminars come in to help. Most people who write books, they made their money when the market was right for whatever they did, and they suggest in the book that you can do it too. Well, no, they did it, and now they're telling millions of people about it, and if everybody tried it, that's too many people in the marketplace. It's not going to work. If one person sold cans of beans for 10 cents a piece because he got them for a nickel, and people would buy a 10-cent can of beans, well, he made a fortune. So he writes a book. I go to this place and buy beans for 5 cents a can and I sell them for 10 cents. Well, if 1,000 people rush there and buy those beans at $5 cents a can, and 1,000 people try to sell them for 10 cents a can, it isn't going to work. You're only going to sell 4 or 5 cans. That isn't enough to make it profitable. So you lose money. But you keep in mind the idea, if you can find something that's cheap, you can take it, sell it, make profit, and when the competition gets too keen, stop, cut your losses, take your profit, and put it in your feel-good account. Also, when you're at a seminar, they'll sell you tapes and books and records and all sorts of things. Don't buy any of it. None of it. You learned everything there is to learn by listening at the seminar. I've seen people time and time again, they buy everything that the person has, tapes to listen to have it now in their brain. You know what happens? 5 years later, they look in the closet and there is all the stuff they bought at that seminar, still wrapped in the cellophane, never opened. They lost money. No, put that money in your feel-good account. Yes. Okay. We discuss One of with the 9 and 10, actually 10 points, and we've been discussing never stop learning. You learn and you learn and you learn. Remember, people write articles every day about how they made a fortune in something. We'll learn how they did it, figure out what the way that they found was. And should you stumble across the same opportunity, but with a different product, that's fine. You do it, you make your money, and get out and go on your way. Now, if you tune in next week, we'll have be persistent and work hard. I think that's easy. You understand what that's all about. And that's what you'll find. If you're persistent, you work hard, you'll find out to go. We've got about 9 minutes to go, so I'll tell you once again, Investors Business Daily publishes the same 10 things that are the secrets of success. Not one article, but 10. And they publish them in every publication because these are hard facts. How you think is everything. It's all up here. Decide upon your dreams and goals. If you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there, trust me. Take action. Do something. You ever hear of the box? Well, a box is something someone's in. And I learned about the box when I was, I guess I was in about the 9th grade. I was in a shop class. And the teacher stood in front of the class and said, you have to think outside the box if you want to get anywhere. And I thought, what does he mean by that? Think outside the box. I'm not in a box. I'm always thinking about things. Well, when I was 18 years old, I saw my father and I observed him. And believe me, I come from a very poor family. But Mom, she didn't call it a feel-good account. She called it a give Dad an opportunity account. And every paycheck, when he gave it to her to buy the food and to pay the rent and buy what she could with what he could provide for, she would put a little aside. And when she had $200 or $300, now that's a lot of money to a poor family, she would give it to my father, who was a very honest man and a very intelligent man. And she would say, here, take this money and invest it. I know you will do well with it, and we will grow as a family financially. Well, he lived in a box, and he studied stocks. He read about stocks. He read magazines, he read newspapers, he read books on stocks. He made copious notes, what stocks to buy, what stocks to avoid, why you would buy these stocks, why you wouldn't buy those stocks. But he never did anything. And when Mom gave him that bit of money, which she did about once a year, maybe every 2 years, he would take it to work, and there would be some blowhard. Well, I got this great idea. Boy, I'm gonna change the world. I've invented water. By golly, people drink it, they feel good, it cleanses their system, it increases their blood flow. That's an idea I have. And my dad would go, boy, that man's smart. He's invented water. And he'd say, I want in on it. The guy said, well, I don't have any money to develop my idea, because that man was also in a box. And he'd say, my dad would say, well, here's my $300. I want, a 10% interest in your company. Man would say, sure, no problem. He'd take the money. Naturally, he'd spend it on beer, who knows what. And Dad would come and say, well, how's your idea going? Oh, that idea is no good. That didn't work. I thought it was a good idea, but I learned that other people have invented water, and it's not good. Well, where's my $300? Oh, well, I spent it developing that idea, and it didn't go anywhere, so it's gone. It's gone. Well, this would happen to my father again and again and again. He was in a box. He believed that if he took the money and gave it to someone who was smarter, they would then invest it on his behalf and he would earn an income from it. It never dawned on him that break outside of that box. It's your money, keep it in a feel-good account. And in 2 years, Mom will give you another $200. You'll have $400. Now you can go down to a stockbroker. Well, my dad said, a stockbroker? Well, I never went to a stockbroker. I wouldn't know what to do. Well, go see one. Open the front door where it says outside, Joe Smith Stock Company. Knock on the door, go in and say, I have $200 to invest. And he'll say, well, here's the many investments we have that you can put it into. Well, I only have $200. That's all it takes. For instance, Southern California Edison is selling at $17 a share, for instance. Well, why would I invest in Southern California Edison? Well, it pays a dividend, and you own, for each $17 you invest, you own one share of the company. Well, $250 would buy him 15 shares or so. I'll buy 15 shares of Southern California Edison. Fine, I'll take care of it. That's my job. I'm a stockbroker. I get a small fee. Always pay a man for working for you. This man is going to invest that for you. He invests the money. He would have given my dad a stock certificate that says he owns so many shares of this company, and he would go home, and once a year he would get a check for 5% of that money. It's called dividends. He broke out of the box. He was now an investor in the stock market. And the next time Mom gave him money, he would buy more shares. And she gave him more money, he would buy more shares. And before you know it, he owned 100 shares, 200, 300 shares. And he was getting $15, $20, $30, $40 a year in interest, in dividends. It's called dividends. The dollars were working for him at Southern California Edison. He broke outside that box. And I ask you, are you in a box? Will you get out there and study and read and decide, are you in a box? Do you have a feel-good account that's growing so that you have dollars working for you like you are working for someone else? You're working for your boss. You're working for the company you work for. If you had dollars in a feel-good account, they would be working for you. You would be the boss. You would tell that dollar what it's going to do. And how would you know what to do with it? Because you read. You never stopped learning. You read, you read, you read. We will now wrap up this half-hour session, and next time will be persistence and hard work, how that makes you wealthy. Until then, this is Papa Tom signing off.